Greetings, folks. It is Tuesday. Let me make sure now. It's the evening. It's 2/5, which is Tuesday, February 5th evening. And I love sharing stuff with you. And I have a cool one to share tonight. Just happened, actually. Maybe some of you friends of mine or watchers of mine in Britain happen to catch this, because that's how I found out from one of you folks happening to listen to the radio, BBC Three. James Drummond, thank you so much for sharing with me. He just happened to be listening. Well, he explained. James is a musician, plays for the BBC Orchestra. There might be more than one BBC Orchestra, but he plays in the orchestra and is on some of the BBC recording CDs that he sent me. And he was listening to BBC Three Tonight's Late Junction show with Nick Luscombe, which I'm actually familiar with because being a fan of British music and culture, I've been tuned in to the BBC, not just for John Peel, but just a lot of just over the years, many different shows and videos. I like BBC documentaries, Top of the Pops, just you name it, okay? So I feel this affinity, and it means something to me, you know. So anyway, when he got a hold of me and said, hey, I just heard you and Brett Harold Hart's a track from Ear Sculpture #1 on Nick Luscombe's Late Junction show. And it's archived, so I'm going to send you the link, but I can play for you just right quick because it just means a lot to hear my name on the BBC radio. It's archived, so here I can play it. I think I paused it, so I was hoping I could play it for you. Oh, I may not be able to play it because I have this video going. But I'll leave the link. I'll tell you what, hearing this, we have these two out, Ear Sculpture 2. I recently reviewed myself and shared that, you know, I like #2 better. But hearing this on the radio, the track that they chose, B Machine Gray 1A, it was like hearing our work, because it's Brett Harold Hart's remixes and reconfigurations of material that I'd send him, and then he would add to it and just take it to another level. It was like hearing it for the first time, hearing it with new ears. That's very exciting to me. It's another kind of a bucket list thing. I've been on the radio many times, and I know I've been on the radio in Europe, heard myself on the radio in Austria. That was a real fortunate, but I knew it was going to happen. But I know I've been played on the radio. I imagine I've been on the radio in Britain before, but this is the first time that I've been able to experience it, so it really means a lot. I'm glad to share it with you all. And you can own a copy of these, $10 plus shipping. And they're limited editions. There's only 100 of these. I have very low numbers left of both of these. Not very many copies at all. That's just, I got to just take a slug of coffee on that one right quick. Oh, thank you so much. Someone had asked about a musician, a fella whose name was new to me, so I haven't checked him out yet, but I'm going to. Folks asked me about the Cocteau Twins. I may grab it and talk about it. I haven't listened to them in that album in a while. But people send me stuff, they tell me they're going to, and then I forget who it is. But two things arrived recently, and I can tell you a little bit about them. I just received this in the mail, a CD by the band After the Fire, Signs of Change. This is the one where it was before they had the big pop crossover hits. It's somewhat collectible on vinyl. I've never owned this. They had the hit Der Kommissar and another hit before that, but the American version of Der Kommissar. And you can hear that that's this band. Very accomplished band, bright, noodly keyboards. I haven't listened to this all the way through. It's on the pop side of prog. It's good, and I appreciate you sending this to me. I have to listen to it some more. I can see why whoever sent this thought I might appreciate this or wanted to know what I thought. Like I said, it's on the pop side of progressive rock. These guys are good players, and I imagine there's probably one or two really good songs on here. I haven't listened to it all the way through. This just came, but I've already gotten all the way through it because I like the band. I meant to see if I could pull. I have one record by them, Ulver. I don't know who sent this to me. Do I have this right quick that I can pull it? Yeah, I have. I'm familiar with the band Ulver. I have this on vinyl, Wars of the Roses. And this is way different. I looked up online to find out more about this, and they call it their chance to do somewhat of a pop album. I see what they mean by that. It's not pop at all, you know, like if you can, when you think about, like they say, they talk about bands like Talk Talk, in that sense. I really like this right away, musically and lyrically. They're using historical stuff, some myths or some, you know, Nero. It all relates to the downfall of society that we're living through right now. And I really like this on first listen. I like that they're using electronics and beats on this compared to the more slow, big, somber sound of this and some of the other things I've heard by them. I like it all. This is cool. I'll talk further. This was given to me, I think, by Andrea Della Piana a while back. The Winstons. Interesting band. I've listened to this a couple times now because it's like they're considered sort of prog psych, but you know, that doesn't really fit. They're really unique. Like this cover. Isn't that a cool image? It stands out. Andrea saw them, met them, and got this signed for me, which is very nice. They actually, you know, personalized it to Dereck. Really, this is really cool. It's singular. They don't sound like rock and opposition bands, but to me, it's more like that more than psych. You know, just very. They're going to do what they darn well please each song, and they can really play, and they have some kind of interesting imagination going on here. I wanted to tell you about that. I'll keep going. So, the show on the BBC, Late Junction, the edition is the Luke Ferrari edition where they're looking back on. I'm honored that they're playing my music. It's so fitting, and that's what he says. It just, please go listen to the show. This means a lot to me. It's a bucket list thing that just happened. I was just showing you one of the other GRM releases, François Bay, that I just picked up. They all have this distinct look. Covers are textured. This is one by Luke Ferrari that I got a while back. Presque Rien, a reissue of some, again, very challenging work with sound. These guys, again, field recordings. Some of this is not like there's so much that he's the very first one doing it, but where they take this stuff, it's historic. It is. It's important. Man, that means a lot to me to have mine and Brett Harold Hart's music featured on a show dedicated to Luke Ferrari. That's stylin', baby. Brett? Yeah, man. Cheers to you and I, right quick. I'm just going to gloat on that a little bit more. Got played on the BBC, which causes me to not forget to talk about this, about why there's an image of me on the wall behind me. It hasn't always been there. If you all have been following me, I go back several years, and there used to be a different set of speakers there. There was a reel-to-reel there for a while. But I think the year 2014, a local music and commercial publication, Encounter, where they feature a lot of stuff on local business and arts, approached me and said, they wanted to do an interview with me for the cover of the next issue. And it's like 4 issues a year, I think, something like that, or every other month, something like, no, more than that, every other month or every 3 months. Anyway, I want to put into perspective why that's there, because I've interacted with someone who watches me who said that it could be perceived as arrogant or self-centered that you would do something like this. Well, yes, it means a lot to me. It can be perceived that way. That doesn't mean that's what it means for me. What this is this recognition for my involvement in music locally, recognizing, they call me a punk pioneer, which is, they had to latch onto something. You know how the media are, My roots in music go so much deeper than punk, but being probably the first black person in Nebraska to play punk music, this goes back to the 70s, you know what I'm saying? When things broke, I was starting to play punk before 1980. And championing all kinds of music, alternative music of all sorts, but that was the one they could latch onto. So when this happened, and I went out to the offices because, it's one of those things where that it's going to be in the newsstands and then it'll just be gone because it's just, So I went out, arranged to go out to the office and pick up some copies for my memories. And while I was out there, I saw that they had blow-ups of the covers of the magazines, all over the place. And then I saw mine. I said, my God, it's like, is there any way that I could get a copy of that? It's like, and it turns out that the editor of the magazine is a fan. That's, again, how deep my roots go. This guy who runs the magazine, I forget his name now. He now runs the parent magazine of that magazine. Now he's then moved up. But it was partially his personal request that I got on the cover in the first place. So he said, here, just take this one as a gift. He gave it as a gift. He said, we'll have another one made, for their, because they had these rooms where they had. So that's why that's there. And, it's perfect. It's a perfect way for me to appreciate it, since I'm facing this way when I make the videos. I see it there, just inadvertently, and it just really means a lot to me, like the BBC thing tonight. Thank you for listening to me share that over and over again. Another record that I recently picked up And this was through Joe Benson. He contacted me. He's going to try to open us. Well, he's going to open a small store in North Omaha. This is going to be interesting to see if this little record store run by a white guy can succeed in basically deep black neighborhood. I'll be rooting for him. Joe's just the best. But Up Through the Spiral by Poe. This is a record that actually goes back to my childhood. I had gotten a copy of this as a promo from one of the radio stations that I used, once I found out that if you go on a tour with radio stations or if you just make a connection with them, you can get promos from them because at that time, radio station copies were, the stations after a while would throw them away. They'd use them for giveaways, but then you'd find them in bins and stuff. And so I would go to get free records. And this is one I remember, I think that's how I got this. I don't think I got this as a cutout. One of those ways. But anyway, it's one that I got rid of a long time ago. So Joe got a hold of me actually and said, hey, I've got so-and-so and so-and-so. And this was one of them. I said, sold, okay. Very decent price. This is psychedelic rock. But it's a creeper because it's a concept album based on the life of Edgar Cayce, the guy who was considered a seer of the future. So they spend almost all of side one laying this narrative out, and the music is kind of it's like watching a play, okay? So you either get into it like a musical or you don't. And I can remember why I ended up getting rid of this because I'd forgotten about side two. Side two is when everything gets to rocking and moving. Side two of this is excellent. Poe, Up Through the Spiral. I think this goes back to maybe 1972, maybe something like that. Pulled this. I had been reading. Oh, actually, I had listened to an old interview with Dereck Bailey on the internet recently. Man, was fascinating. Pulled this, which is back when he had a label called Incus. Excuse me, the damn copy. I love it though. He had put out a series of solo guitar recordings on reel-to-reels. And this is a 12-inch on 200-gram vinyl, collecting 4 of them on one disc. And what's interesting is that it presents them each separately. So like there's 2 on each side, and there's not a continuous groove from one to the other on each side. It ends. And then you have to pick up the needle and then put it forward to start the next one. So it presents them like as 4 separate entities, like they were original. Solo guitar. And Dereck Bailey is a legend when it comes to guitar technique, improvisation, and for good reason. These were all recorded in 1973. This captures where he just happens to do some things and something happens that's probably never happened before when he's played. Not to say that it's never happened when someone's played before, but it got captured. There's a couple of them on here. It's like, wow. And one of them, it doesn't even sound like guitar. There's another one where he ends up blowing into the guitar, and this big vibration thing starts happening, and he does it not very long. That's the thing that is beautiful about Dereck Bailey and certain other improvisers to my ears. They're exploring, they're listening, they're in the moment, so it's egoless. When what is happening is done, they stop. Just amazing. Yeah, music, the State of the Union address is happening tonight here in the U.S. The hell I'm going to watch that bullshit. And I'm just going to stamp down on knowing the truth about the absolute lie of our government and the two-party system and how we're just being shafted. So thank God for music. It saves my soul. The excitement that I'm sharing with you is real. Has always been there. Always. I bought this recently. It's a reissue of a thing where Jean-Michel Jarre and another notable musician were involved with this kind of studio thing, or where they're doing a take on like a musical about psychedelia, opera cosmic. This came out in the early 70s. I was just, it kept coming up in my head because it was like I got it not that long ago, and then I filed it before I really became familiar with it. And it's really good. It's kitschy. You know that word kitsch, Kitsch. You know what I mean? It's like it's a recreation of the times. It's a bit over the top, but that's the way musicals and stage productions, it makes me think of Hair. You old guys like me would know about Hair. Hair was significant. Hair was an important play. It was groundbreaking, and it just made the news, and it was a social phenomenon at the time, and that's what this is a takeoff on, opera cosmic. And this is good. Musically, it's good, and it's just wild. It's wild. Neil Ardley is I understand, because I don't know his music history that well, but apparently a British jazz musician, I think in the same company as people like Ian Carr and Don Rendell. I don't have any Rendell records. Those have been popping up as reissues lately, and those, as we know, are very collectible originals. But I pulled this. I hadn't played it in a long time. Kaleidoscope of Rainbows. 1976 is when this came out. This was a newsmaker when it came out. Has some cool players on it. Ian Carr, go figure. Paul Buckmaster, Tony Coe, Roger Sutton, Trevor Tompkins. It's jazz, and it's a mixture. There's a part I forgot about here where they go Eastern, and it's like, reminds me of something like maybe like Trilok Gurtu. And I'm saying, wow, this is like something ahead of its time. I had to actually play it a second time. It's on side one. Kaleidoscope of Rainbows, Neil Ardley. Great visual, too, that fits. Real cool. Let's see here. I didn't play that, so I can't talk about it. I know I have more that are... Did I put them away? I had more here that I hadn't talked about. Well, here's one. Well, okay, here's a couple. I've talked about this before, but I came back to it because I received this recently from Andrea della Piana in Italy. La Pyramide de Sang, Tebe. I get it. I had to just slow down and not listen to it in the background. I had to pay attention to it, okay? And this is a Mid-Eastern feeling. I don't know where these people are from, but the pyramid is correct. It's like going out into the desert or outdoors. I can imagine that experiencing these guys playing live would really make this come together, because it's got that kind of a feel, this kind of a communal sort of energy. It's kind of raggedy to my ears, you know what I mean? Like, obviously the purpose of this is not to be showing off how good we can play, but more like creating this, we're doing this music. It means something. I don't know what it means, but I get it, and I do like this. La Pyramide de Sang, Tebe. This is recent. This is something new. Thank you, Andrea. I pulled this, but I need to play it. Tai Fung. This is from the 70s, progressive rock. Again, a mixed race band, I think, based out of France, but a couple of the brothers are possibly Filipino or something. I just really actually pulled this to post the artwork online to just stimulated conversation, which I'll do sometimes, and it did. But I haven't gotten to playing it yet. I got to play this. I've had it for a while. I don't remember it. My memory of it is like it was like forgettable. But that doesn't mean anything, okay? I'm going to keep going here until I'm almost done. Bob Burnside sent me another letter. And thank you for asking for a physical copy of Sonicity. I burned him one, he bought it. My latest digital, which I am looking into. I'm looking into something right now. But he sent me another one of his CDs, explained the whole story behind them. But he sent this to me, saying that it had been given to him, didn't fit him. He said maybe it would fit me. 9 Inch Nails. Hesitation Marks. Now, this is the first vinyl 9 Inch Nails I have. I've never bought anything by them. Back when my brother worked for a record distributor, I got a promo of Pretty Hate Machine on CD before it was released. I still have it somewhere. It might be in the garage, all molded. I wasn't impressed. I already could hear what he had heard that he was trying to emulate, which made me understand why what 9 Inch Nails was doing was so more easily graspable, which doesn't make it worse. Just I understand why what he was doing compared to where he had gotten it from, everything from the origins of Skinny Puppy, Frontline Assembly, going back before that, you know what I'm saying? So, and then I've seen 9 Inch Nails twice, too. 2 different versions of the band, early on and then after it got big. So I understand. And I've played this a few times, and it's good. It's interesting the way he uses Adrian Belew and others on this album. But the narrative of his music, which is this broken soul, which I understand a lot of us relate to, it's like, if I may say, there's a lot of me that's kind of like been there and done that, okay? So it's like, that doesn't do it for me. It's the music. His production is interesting. I'll tell you, if you didn't catch this, my Flyover CD, when I did the Flyover Country soundtrack, one of the touchstones that the film's director gave me, he said, well, have you seen the movie Social Media or whatever it is that was about Facebook that was done by Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross or whatever his name is? I said, no, I haven't heard it. He said, well, check that out, and then he mentioned a couple other things. So indirectly, by listening to what he did on that, there was an influence on parts of Flyover, okay? Because I was checking out how he used, his music. I still wouldn't buy this, but I can see why he connects with a bigger audience. I find the funk of his songs, even on this, still kind of stiff, or it's kind of funk light, or dare I say, to this day, funk white. It's not a put down, people. This is talking about what I hear. 9 Inch Nails. So, I've gone on for a while. I know you guys like these long ones. I could talk more. But I'm going to stop there. Grab these before I don't have them. As featured on the BBC Three show Late Junction with Nick Luscombe. How cool is that?